Our Phoenix Guard, any good in patch 6.1.3. I'll be honest, I never did a super deep high elf campaign back in the day, so I came at this unit fresh and open-minded. So how are they really? Let's look at their formidable cost and then look at value. Recruited for 1400 gold and 350 upkeep. On Ultra scale, that's 100 entities for 8,400 health total, same as Swordmasters. Armor is 110, but no shields. Physical resistance 30% means they're practically armored ninja. Leadership 90 is the cream of the crop. Speed 32 and charge speed 40 are only a smidgen slower than Swordmasters on the normal jog. Melee attack begins at 38, with a relatively restrained attack interval of 4.9, ever so slightly higher than Spearmen and Silver. There is no splash damage. Melee defense begins at 40. Weapon strength is 36, split base 11, and armor piercing 25, with a bonus versus large of 20. So this is like Swordmasters, but against large targets specifically. Charge bonus is 10, and mass is 150. This unit has hide enforced, charge defense versus large, charge reflection, causes fear, and has immunity to psychology, so terror doesn't work on it either. It also has the martial mastery passive if over 25% health, so plus 12 melee defense and plus 8 melee attack while that lasts. This is obviously very good. In the redline skills, Master Strategist at 3 pips grants melee attack plus 6 and melee defense plus 6. Yet at rank 7 it is Heart of the Flame, that grants armor plus 10, melee defense plus 5, and an extra physical resistance 10%. In the tech tree, Great Weapons provides a plus 5% boost to weapon strength. Drummers adds plus 5% speed to the Phoenix Guard. Heavy Ithalmar Armor adds plus 10 armor. Star Metal Blades adds plus 5 melee attack and plus 5% weapon strength, of which the former is a lot more impactful, so to speak. Elite Champions grants plus 2 to recruit rank, and Friends in High Places drives upkeep down 5% and recruitment cost minus 10%. So, like White Lions and Swordmasters. So how do we use Phoenix Guard? Okay, big brain time. I told you I didn't use Phoenix Guard properly in my own Total War Warhammer 2 campaigning, but I sure used Black Guard of Naggarond, and the idea is remarkably similar, just without the murderous prowess mechanic and with a lot of physical resistance. So let's look at this objectively. Phoenix Guard, despite being able to get a physical resistance level dwarfing most demons, are exactly what you want 5 Dark Shard units to fire at over and over so it dies. And from personal experience doing it, a bloated corpse in the middle of them will do a lot of damage, though not quite enough to obliterate the unit. The base unit has no spell resistance and no fire resistance. You see this unit, you make it die with flame with great vengeance. So what if you're the guy using them? Like Black Guard, I would aggressively hide them in the back line or push them to close off flanks or even the rear, a last defense against hostile dragons swooping in, and a deterrent to cheeky dogs. Bonuses be damned, they'll crush dogs. And any kind of cavalry or chariots, or rushing them in against rare flying cavalry. I would not use them as a unified front line unless forced to by circumstance. There are other units for that. These are like Super Triarion. There to save your bacon, not take the initial blows of battle. So you do not simply erase Spearmen or Silver Guard from your armies unless you are sure you can afford to do so, which usually means really good heroes or relying tremendously on mobile elements in a very atypical fashion. More likely, you'll bring them as a backup to take over if and only if the enemy forces you to do so, because let's be blunt, if the enemy just putters around, Lothern Seaguard with shields can be your front line and no one's going to mind. It's only if they're trying to overload you that you need something like Phoenix Guard to sort things out, and many enemies will, to say nothing of ogres trying to drown you non-stop, and often doing a quite good job of it. So with this kind of unit, despite the existence of charge reflection, you are totally fine using it as a second line or third line unit charging in at monstrous infantry and single entity monsters. They are going to hurt the enemy badly. They should not be the first one in, but as hero support, as heavy backline support, and as your way to utterly shut city gates down completely, it's very difficult to do better, and I'll say it once more. A lot in this game still doesn't have magical attack. And a unit like this will completely dominate the ones that don't. And the ones that do, it'll have a good chance of getting the better of the trade anyway. Now, it's expensive, which is why I walked you through all the ways enemies will attack it, and why in multiplayer this can be a hard unit to use or love, but in campaign, if you anticipate properly, you can keep these units relevant and do extreme damage to the best the enemy brings to the fight. Just don't use them to tank all the arrows. That's not what they're for, and it hurts your balance of power. Slaying dragons and slobbering abominations does. Take care and have fun being the best of the best when the chips are down. Those other elves think they're hot stuff, but these are the ones stopping the most brutal assaults cold.